All right, you guys, what we are watching is live coverage happening now. I'm going to be taking a look at the latest for you as we are hearing that Trump Tower has been overrun, stormed, taken over by protesters. They are in the lobby all throughout. The police are currently arresting members of this group, this mob of protesters that have entered in as we speak. And I'm going to be playing for you the latest video footage and articles so that way you can see it for yourself as we are hearing that this is happening at this very moment. It is currently 12:13 p.m. Central Standard Time, March 13th, 2025. Now, this is all in response to, we are hearing that Donald Trump and ICE, they are now arresting individuals that are here in the United States on visas or have green cards that are promoting Hamas and terrorist organizations. Take a look at the latest headlines with me. Protesters supporting Mahmoud Khalil occupy Trump Tower's lobby as they shout, "Free Mahmoud, free Palestine." And there's video footage, articles coming out left and right. I'm going to share with you the latest so that way you can see it for yourself. Now, this says several dozen protesters supporting Khalil occupied the lobby area of Trump Tower on Manhattan's Fifth Avenue on Thursday today, calling for the release of the anti-Israeli activist who was detained over the weekend. The protesters, many dressed in red, held signs reading "Free Mahmoud, Free Palestine," and "Fight Nazis, not students." And here you can see a photo. And like I said, we actually have the live feeds up right now, so that way you can see it. I'm going to be playing for you the video footage. ICE agents arrested Khalil at his university-owned apartment on the city's Upper West Side on Saturday. Agents told him that they were revoking his green card and student visa, according to Khalil's attorney. This is breaking news that is coming out right now. There will be more updates, and I'm going to share with you the latest updates coming out as right now we are watching the live feeds, so that way you can see it for yourself what is going on. So this is actual live footage happening at this very moment. You can see them arresting individuals, taking them out of Trump Tower. So let me know your thoughts on this. Are you glad to see ICE, Donald Trump, and the border security changes that have taken place? That we heard that they had originally taken out violent criminals from the United States that were here in the U.S. illegally. They were also just taking out anybody that has entered in illegally. And now we're hearing they're also targeting individuals that are here with visas or green cards that are shouting pro-terrorist, pro-Hamas sentiments. They're burning American flags, doing protests on American campuses. Now they're also in Trump Tower, and they are doing these protests as well. Are you glad to see this? If so, and you agree with Donald Trump, deport them, get them out, drop a 47 in the comments and hit that like button for me. Like button helps spread this out further so more people can get the latest information. Also, subscribe to stay up to date. It's totally free. I'll keep you up to speed on all the breaking news. I have one article cited in the description. Typically, I cite all the sources, but this is happening live right now. So I've only got one article source, and I'm just going to play for you the video footage so that way you can see it for yourself, what is unfolding here. And we're going to be taking a look at clips that have been coming out literally in the past maybe like 5 minutes. I actually have one that I think came up from Fox News that is come out a minute ago. So this is happening as we speak. So again, if you appreciate breaking news updates coming to you live, please hit that like button, subscribe to stay up to date, drop those 47s. And if you disagree, put no. If you choose to, disagree, you think that the protesters should be doing this, that they should be supporting this Hamas group, which the Donald Trump administration has now deemed as a terrorist group. If you think that they should be able to burn American flags, some are vocalizing their thoughts of freedom of speech. Let me know your thoughts. But, we've heard a lot back and forth as some people are saying, you know what, there are limitations, though, to freedom of speech. If you're threatening individuals, if you're violent, there are limitations to it. So I'm not an attorney, but I've been taking a look at it, and it looks like, yeah, there are some things you just can't do. You're crossing the line here. And also keep in mind that these are not American citizens. These are people that are here with green cards, with visas. Some are here illegally. And so therefore, there are not the same type of rules, regulations, constitutional rights. They can revoke them, take them out, ship them out if they deem them, a potential threat, is my understanding. Again, I'm not an attorney, but that is what I've been reading up on. So let's go ahead, though, and take a look at some of this so that way you can see it. As this is unfolding live right now, this is taking place in Trump Tower, the takeover of these protesters coming in, storming it, and they are protesting against the arrest and deportation of Khalil. And I'm seeing 47s still pouring in. People are saying, Yeah, get them out. I see Catherine saying freedom of speech is for American citizens. If you're not an American citizen, get them out. And, and I have to agree, just my personal opinion on this is like, hey, think of it, the United States, our borders as our own home. If it was your house, would you just leave the doors and the windows wide open for anybody to walk in? And if they came in and they were posing a threat, if they were threatening members of your family, if they were trying to steal from you, you probably wouldn't want to keep them in. You'd probably throw them out, lock the door. Now, you welcome guests, but if you do so, it's because you say, hey, they're not a threat. I'm going to be hospitable, and they are somebody that wants to contribute, bring value to my house, not somebody that wants to cause harm, destruction, and threaten members of my family. Let me know if you agree or disagree. But this is going down right now. So let me go ahead and share with you what has been coming out here just in the past 5 minutes or so. Actually, let's see here now. It looks like 18 minutes ago, this one came out from Fox News. Let's take a look as we can get the scoop as to what is going on. Like I said, hit that like button, subscribe. This is breaking news happening at this very moment. It's currently 12:19 p.m. Central Standard Time here in Houston, Texas, March 13th, 2025. Let's go ahead and take a look.
Breaking news now. Protesters in New York City have found a new favorite address, and they are occupying not just the streets outside, which you can see this is a chopper shot that we cannot take control over. So we wish that this helicopter would pull out, because you'll see people at the top of the screen beyond our banners. There are many of them. Some of them have made their way into occupying the lobby at Trump Tower. This is in protest of the arrest and detainment of Mahmoud Khalil. Remember, he is a graduate student who was on the campus of Columbia University professing hate. We know that he was a very high-profile face, along with groups on that campus who are pro-Hamas on Columbia. And when ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, picked him up, the protesting began. Now, some of it has not looked like protected speech or protests. It's looked more violent than that, as people have pressed physically against NYPD officers in this city. Let's watch the video now. This is what happened inside. And can you hear them chanting? Listen carefully as we go to that. Free Mahmoud, free them all.
Free Mahmoud, free them all. Free Mahmoud, free them all. Free Mahmoud, free them all.
So you hear them chanting, free Mahmoud, free them all. I'm wondering, Ari, who are they all? And if the world is watching our nation right now, and they know us as a bastion of free speech, so on and so forth, when you hate, when people feel under threat because of what you're saying, that's actually not protected speech.
That's right.
And look at some of the signage in here. I mean, they hate Israel. They hate Jewish Americans. They are anti-American.
I'll make 2 big points here. One, I'm going to start with the speech facade, the myth that this is about speech. What happened to Mahmoud Khalil had nothing to do with speech. It has everything to do with creating an encampment that is where Zionists are prohibited, where Jewish students are not allowed to walk on their own campus. These are crimes. These are deportable events. These are things that we would never tolerate. As for all these people who are now in Trump Tower, I hope that this administration will do what the Biden administration did to the January 6 people who walked inside the Capitol. They have the technology, get their faces, match it up with the database, and if any of them are non-citizens, every one of them is trespassing. They all should be deported from this country, too.
But wouldn't they be trespassing anyway if they are causing people to fear? There are people who pay to live in that residence. There are businesses on that floor of the lobby. This is not a safe situation. If you are Jewish in that building, do you feel safe?
Well, whether you feel safe, don't feel safe, whatever the legal remedy is to give the State Department under Marco Rubio's leadership, who took action against Mahmoud Khalil,
at a federal level,
any of these people are not citizens. They should be deported. We have to have a new way of approaching this. The streets of New York have got to stop getting shut down on a regular basis, interfering with ambulances and fire departments and people trying to get to their jobs. We don't have to have mayhem in our streets because these people, the face of the Democrat Party, are pro-Hamas.
Well, and this looks like, Lisa, this looks like what we saw in Columbia University last year with the tents. Those T-shirts were printed. Come on, this is not an accident that people with identical T-shirts show up at Trump Tower and then they occupy the lobby. I mean, coincidence is interesting. It's just usually not applicable.
Well, yeah, I mean, they hate Israel, obviously, in the West. But I think it's hilarious that they believe this is going to have any impact on President Trump, a guy who survived an assassination attempt and then took the stage at the Republican National Convention just days later. So this is going to have zero impact on him. He's not swayed at all. So you're wasting your time, people out in the streets. But look at who the left makes their heroes, right? This guy.
Yes.
Hamas, George Floyd, Jacob Blake, a guy who pulled a knife on a police officer. So they have some strange heroes. And then look who they won't stand up for when you look at President Trump's speech to Congress, a 13-year-old with cancer, Laken Riley, right? So this tells you everything about their values, and they're totally misaligned with the rest of America.
Look, there was a representative we had on the show last week, Representative Gooden of Texas, and he was the person who ripped the sign out that said this is not normal as President Trump was walking into that joint congressional address. And he said, look, when you've had enough, you've just had enough. So America has had enough. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and President Trump have had enough. Will the Democrats ever have enough of this kind of hate?
Yeah, I watched a video of one of Mahmoud Khalil's, I mean, he has like a dozen attorneys.
It's a lot.
Appeared to be an attorney saying that the wife said, my husband was kidnapped. Okay, the American government does not kidnap people, first of all. Your husband is getting his student visa taken away. And you mentioned Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said, this is not about free speech. Nobody has a right to a student visa. Nobody has a right to a green card. And that is exactly right. You put the statute on your show, Harris, the Immigration and Nationality Act, I believe it was yesterday. If you are suspected of articulating a viewpoint or pushing forward or helping a terrorist group, there are different nuances with the exact wording. You can get your visa yanked away. And by the way, the Supreme Court is very friendly to arguments about national security as it pertains to the federal government.
Excellent point.
It is their purview. Section
237A4C of the Immigration and Nationality Act, if you should want to look it up. I try to read it out loud every day.
By the way, he wasn't kidnapped. He's getting a free flight to Syria. He shouldn't have complained.
Well, I mean, he was
born in Syria.
Born there. Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
Look, Emily, as we look at this, though, and read those signs. Fight Nazis, not students. So does that make the rest of us in America Nazis? What are they even doing right now?
Well, I just point out, too, how tragically misguided this is in terms as well of that coverage and amplification. So they are saying free Mahmoud. What about free Adon Alexander, who was the United States American hostage who is still in the clutches of Hamas? How about freeing the remains of the 4 additional American bodies that are there? The urgency, the intensity, and the congealed nature of this, the fervor. I wish there would just be an iota of that would get even more coverage of the Americans that are still there. And I've been trying to read what their T-shirts say. And on the back it says, Jews say stop. I can't read the bottom too, but there have been shirts out there that say stop arming Israel. And I know that there are plenty of printed that in these similar protests that say Jews say stop arming Israel. To your point about the signs that say fight Nazis, not students, what about fight Hamas?
Yeah.
I mean,
they're not going to do that.
The whole reality, and this goes back to our, by the way, our A-block discussion of the Democratic Party, because Rahm Emanuel purposefully did not go to any Ivy League campus as he's going out there and talking about this, right? These are bastion and fomenting grounds for this kind of ideology, patently unacceptable, and those people are trespassing.
Yeah, but this is personal now. That's Trump Tower. That bears his name. Think about all the people who've gone after Trump. Not just as president, but previously. All the lawfare against him. Letitia James, the Attorney General of the state, the governor, Kathy Hochul. Think about the people who have gone after him. This is his tower bearing his name. They would love it if his name were not on anything in the city. That's what the district attorney and AG and the state of New York and New York City were trying to do. They couldn't win on that. So this is all part of that bigger sort of gestalt view, if you will, of Donald Trump and his leadership in this country from a side that would rather we not have real freedom in this country. Because real freedom isn't just for the people that you like, It's for everybody. There but by the grace of God go any of us if Jewish Americans are afraid when they go to sleep tonight because of the stuff that's happening on the streets of some of our cities. I want to bring in now Eric Shawn. Eric.
Yeah, we're here live on the corner of 57th and 5th. There is Trump Tower. There have been some arrests already of some protesters who were sitting in the heart of the Trump organization, taking their message to President Trump in Washington. It is the group Voice, a Jewish Voice for Peace. They have been demanding that Mahmoud Khalil be freed and not be deported, and they are also been calling for no walls either in Mexico or in the Middle East. As you can see here, some of the protesters are gathered on the side after they voluntarily came out, but we've seen protesters arrested already. The police, NYPD, have their zip ties ready as these protesters, with their message that they've been carrying around New York City in various areas. There is someone being arrested right now, walking backwards, and you hear the cheers. We hear the cheers from the protesters as more arrests are coming out. Those are the people who decided to stay in the lobby, the pink marbled lobby of Trump Tower, as well. Others are here. Let's just listen to their chant for just a moment.
Palestinians have the right to live in freedom.
Those here have been saying basically that Mahmoud Khalid has been exercising his First Amendment rights and should not be deported.
7 million U.S. businesses rely on TikTok to compete.
Within a week of posting, I had over $25,000 in sales.
Small businesses thrive on TikTok.
TikTok brings in so much foot traffic.
I need TikTok to keep growing.
Of course, the Trump administration says that he is aligned with the terrorist group Hamas, and that's why Secretary of State Marco Rubio says under the law, as the Secretary of State, he has the right to deport Mr. Khalid. His wife gave a plaintiff plea saying that her husband only cares about the Palestinian people and he's been fighting for the Palestinian people. So that is the scene right here on 5th Avenue at the corner of 5th Avenue and 57th Street. Let's go in right here to a news conference. Let's listen. Why are you here, ma'am? I'm with Fox.
Don't do that.
Why not? I'm with the news department at Fox. Why not? You're broadcasting to people on the...
Eric, we have lost all of your audio. I know you're walking and you are corded. You are not wireless, I would imagine. So we are losing you. We're losing sound of you and the people around you. We will come back to you, Eric Shawn, if you can hear the sound of my voice as soon as we can. I do want to get to this. So we know that they are making arrests inside that lobby right now. We can't see this. The video that you're seeing right now is from moments ago. So we are not able to contemporaneously show you those arrests. That doesn't mean that there won't be video later, but right now that is playing out. And I would imagine that the shouts that we could hear outside from that group when Eric Shawn lowered his voice so that we could hear the hate on the streets. And yes, they are for Mahmoud Khalil, a man known to lead high-profile protests against Israel, against Jewish Americans, and many of them aligned with pro-Hamas. Okay, they are declared a terrorism organization by President Trump. By the federal government, they are terrorists. And Khalil and others have been in those groups. Now, we can't say exactly who wrote what sign and printed the T-shirts and all of that. I personally want to look into that and see if there are any sorts of connections to what we saw last year. There was a lot of money flowing onto those Ivy League campuses for all those tents. All right, the arrests now. Now we're seeing, this is live. Let's see if we can get the camera up right and straight again. They are taking people out of that lobby now. And Ari, this is exactly what you said needs to happen. And next steps with Ari Fleischer on the couch with us today would be a top-down approach from the Secretary of State, from the federal government. And that section of the Immigration and Nationality Act law, Section 237A4C, that says that Secretary Rubio has found that Khalil's presence and activities in the U.S. would have potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequences for the U.S. Secretary of State has the latitude to kick anybody out for any reason who's here on a student visa or a green card.
Well, first and foremost, it is utterly distressing that after the October 7th attack, the biggest killing of Jews since the Holocaust, that there is a movement inside the United States that is pro-Hamas. I mean, it is beyond me how any group of Americans, if they're American, or non-citizens can be in this country and be pro-Hamas. And we have to remedy that. And the way you remedy it is to recognize, one, Fifth Avenue is shut down. That's a violation of the law. These people are illegally trespassing inside private property, Trump Tower. Deport them. Use whatever technology we need. This is playing perfectly into the hands of the Rubio and the Trump administration, who says we're not putting up with this. There's a new sheriff in town.
Well, look, sheriffs, deputies, whoever it takes, we want people arrested and for the right thing to be done. And some of that with NYPD police officers. Look to the left of your screen. That is a live look of people being carted out by law enforcement. They are taking them out. Look, if we didn't see enough of that movement on campuses last year, of students being held accountable, this is more of the same. But the difference that has to happen now, Lisa, you can't just let them go in a soft on crime policy district attorney's office. You can't say that we aren't going, because I thought Paul Morrow was here earlier this week or last week, and he said, look, why don't we know details about those cases against the students that basically were holding hostages on one of the campuses because they hate Jews? Like, what? Why not? And that would be my question now. We want to see the details of the cases against these people after they arrest them. Make sure that the penalty is applied to them with the full force of the law.
Yeah, we should deport people who are a threat to our country. Also, there's security concerns here. Why was this allowed to happen? How did this start? And why were so many people allowed to protest in Trump Tower to this degree? So I have concerns about that. But also, these people are so delusional, so dumb. To wear shirts that say fight Nazis, you are supporting the Nazis, you morons. You're supporting Hamas, who committed the largest attack on the Jews, the deadliest attack on the Jews since the Holocaust on October 7th. So these people are just so stupid, so delusional to wear those shirts when they're the ones supporting Nazis.
They're hateful, and now they're being held to account, at least on this day. We'll see what happens further with the law, but they're being arrested, pulled out of the Trump Tower right now. And that, just so you know, Fifth Avenue is one of the places in New York City that is iconic. Tourists go there, and can you imagine now, you can't gain access. All those businesses have to halt what they were doing as they bring out more of these. I don't even call them protesters. They were occupying Trump Tower. By the way, at one point they were chanting the right to live in freedom. The right to live in freedom. What about Jewish Americans? What about everybody on the streets right now of New York City near here on Fifth Avenue? What about people who are watching this? They have a right to live in freedom. Ari.
Yeah, I would like to hear two New York's leaders, Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the House, a Democrat from New York City, and Senator Chuck Schumer, also a New Yorker, the leader of the Democrats in the Senate. What are they going to say about this? Will they condemn this? Or will they kowtow to the pro-Hamas wing of the Democratic Party? This is what we talked about earlier. All the energy of the Democratic Party, the modern Democratic Party, is from this far left base. It is time for them to condemn this protest and be anti-Hamas.
They won't condemn this. I'm just going to predict that. We've seen them defend Mahmoud Khalil, many people in their party. You know, look at this. This, for people who haven't been to Trump Tower, you see the bike rack, and that's there intentionally. That's there because the President of the United States owns this building. It is a threatened building in many ways. These protesters would have had to have gone through metal detectors. That's at least how it's been for several years. If you went in there to meet with anyone in Trump world, you had to go through a metal detector. So many of these individuals, to Lisa's point, how did they get in? They're wearing masks. We now see them being arrested with zip ties. You know, are they hiding their identity? We know this report came out from Axios that they're using AI technology to identify these people. And they specifically want to know, were any of these people arrested during the Biden administration and not deported? So this mask helps obscure that AI technology. But Harris, that point you made, I picked up on that too, when they said the right to live in freedom. And my head immediately went to kibbutz near Oz, where Yarden and Shiri Bibas were trying to live peacefully with their family, with their 9-month-old Kafir, with their 4-year-old Ariel. They were thinking about moving, according to reports, because it felt unsafe. And instead, Hamas kidnapped them, killed the 2 little babies, killed the wife, and that dad is living alone without his family. They had a right to live in freedom. You spoiled students. Many of you look as if you're students. You're living in freedom. Welcome to the United States of America, where you can peacefully say what you want. But you cannot support terrorism and be here on a student visa. You cannot support the kidnappers of Shiri, of Kafir, of Ariel, and of Yarden. You cannot support them and be here. It's a privilege to be in this country on a student visa. You guys live in freedom. Who doesn't are the people of Israel.
Well, look, I appreciate you taking it back to October 7th because, honestly, Emily, we don't talk about it enough. So this is inside. We'll get back to that point in a moment. This is live inside Trump Tower. So this is playing out on the inside of a building of President Trump's. We don't know if there's anyone that he knows who's home in those residences right now. I mean, that's part of the story that we don't have. But what we know right now is that people are being taken out with NYPD officers escorting them out. Kaylee mentioned the zip ties. You know, as you see this play out, Emily, this can't just come to a few protesters picked up to stop the melee and they get let go. What can they be held on? What can they be charged with? How tough does the district attorney, what latitude does he have legally here?
Well, just a reminder that in Alvin Bragg's day 1 memo, he said he wouldn't prosecute, quote, low-level misdemeanor offenses, which includes trespass. He specifically articulated that, unless it was part of a larger felony case. So if we had a district attorney here in Gotham City that actually had a vertebrae, then I would propose that, yes, they would find a constellation of charges, that they would absolutely bake trespass into larger felony cases of, you know, alignment with terrorism and whatever else. I don't care. Pick a ton. But the reality is, I am sure, as we see the massively affable way that these protesters are submitting to the arrest means that there's no way you can tie it to resisting arrest. We've seen them. I mean, it's sort of like watching someone try to lift a mannequin. Like, they're very pliable. So I don't see resisting being any part of this, which is a positive because obviously the safety and security of our law enforcement is penultimate. Yes. But at the end of the day, the building owner should press charges, right? We know who that is. But I don't know what the DA is going to do. And what this shows me is that all of these individuals who clearly don't have jobs as they're out there on a Thursday morning enjoying vandalism and breaking and entering and all the things, what I see is the movement around Free Mahmoud should be replaced with a movement of Free Adon. Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-host Harris Faulkner and Kaylee.
There you have it, you guys. So that just came out 18 minutes ago from the time that I shared it with you. Let me go ahead and share another one with you. Now, we're also watching the live feeds right now. This is outside of Trump Tower at this very moment. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what they're saying.
So real. That was me, yeah.
I literally just did a parent-teacher conference again.
Okay, so I don't know. So this is live right now where they're at. If maybe things have died down, or if they're just like in a different part of things. This reporter's talking about a parent-teacher conference and how she just came over to come report. But let me go ahead and play for you this update coming out. Now, this came out, looks like 53 minutes ago. So this came out about an hour ago. So maybe now, as we're looking at the live feeds, things have died down, unless they're inside of the tower and they have confined it. You can see the police vehicle right there. So maybe they're still inside there. Maybe they have gotten some of them out. Not really sure. We will find out, but I know that this is all unfolded over the course of the past hour. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. Oh, and here you can see, okay, the live feed is showing the police all lined along the street. Looks like the streets are still blocked off. Let's see if they're saying anything. Okay, it looks like the police vans are still moving.
Can pedestrians cross here?
Again, this is a live feed of what is going on at this very moment. It's currently 12:42 p.m. Central Standard Time here in Houston, Texas. Means it's 1:42 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in New York at Trump Tower. where we're hearing this is taking place. You can see all the police are out there today, March 13th, 2025. Now, I'm going to keep an eye on the live feeds to see if anything else comes out, but let's take a look at this coming out from Live Now with Fox breaking news as they report. And as you just saw from the other Fox report, all of the video footage of the protests. Let's go ahead and take a look so you can see it for yourself. Don't forget, do me a favor if you haven't done so yet, hit that like button, subscribe to stay up to date on the breaking news, and let me know your thoughts in the comments. We actually heard the reporter saying that she believes that anybody that is pro-Palestinian, supporting Hamas, which we consider a terrorist group at this time in the United States, and you are a member of the United States and you're a supporter, she said she thinks you are stupid. She said, hey, listen, they're literally calling the American, ICE and all this Nazis and stuff, people that support Israel Nazis. She was like, the Nazis literally were persecuting the Jews. Palestinians, Hamas right now is persecuting the Jews. And so she said, they're not even thinking here. This is not logical. And as I mentioned earlier, my personal opinion, if you're here with a green card or a visa and you are shouting death to America, death to Israel, you're threatening people, you're not here with good intentions, I agree. Ship them out. I think you should be deported. I don't think, can you imagine if you're from the United States and you went to another country, let's say you went to Russia and you started shouting anti-Russian rhetoric and started protesting, what do you think Russia would do to you in a communist country? Now, we have freedom of speech here in the United States, but I don't think that it should be taken advantage of. And I think that we should have every right that if we feel like you are posing a threat to the people of our nation, you're protesting illegally, you have the right to freedom of speech and to protest in certain areas, in public locations. This is a private Trump Tower. They are trespassing. They're illegally protesting, which is why they're going to be arrested. And like I said, there are a lot of different elements to this, and a lot of people are saying, well, freedom of speech. However, at the same time, there are limitations to your freedom of speech as well. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. Do you agree? Do you disagree? We got that poll, and 86% of the room right now, 740 votes, say that they believe that if you are pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas supporter in the United States right now with everything going on, you're stupid. Yes. And I see Harry saying, Steve Ram, that is my point. I'm seeing comments coming in here. A lot of people saying they agree. Let's see here. Julia Jack, thank you for the $5 super chat. Says the cult doesn't have 77 million people. That's a revolution. A cult has a few thousand people with blue hair and random pronouns. Talking about, it sounds like woke individuals. Yeah, let me know your thoughts. But let me go ahead and share with you this update here so you can see it for yourself. And again, hit the like button, subscribe to stay up to date. I will keep you up to date on all the breaking news and everything going on. Let's go ahead and take a look at this video footage.
Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. As we continue to follow this breaking news, we do know about 100 protesters are inside Trump Tower in Manhattan right now. Taking you out live to the scene. This is just one of the many shots that we are getting in here to our Live Now from Fox newsroom. I do just want to turn up the audio for a moment to see what we can hear before I read you the details. All right, so it does appear that there is no audio on this, but as you can see, there is a police presence inside. And here's what we do know as of right now. Demonstrators from a Jewish group are filling the lobby of Trump Tower to denounce the immigration arrest of a Columbia University activist who helped lead student protests on the campus against Israel's war in Gaza. The Jewish Voice for Peace protesters are wearing red shirts, as you can see, and it says, quote, Jews say stop arming Israel. They're also carrying banners reading opposing fascism is a Jewish tradition and fight Nazis, not students. And they're saying bring Mahmoud home now. And again, if you aren't familiar with this story, Mahmoud Khalil is a permanent U.S. resident who is married to an American citizen and who hasn't been charged with breaking any laws, but he was arrested outside his New York City apartment on Saturday, and he is now facing a deportation. President Donald Trump has said Khalil's arrest was the first of many to come and vowed on social media to deport students who he said engage in pro-terrorist, anti-Semitic anti-Semitic and anti-American activity. I do want to see if we have any more shots. We do have one outside here as I continue to read to you. You can see protesters are also outside the building. Let's turn up the sound here and listen in really quickly.
Why you're here today? I'm here because my grandparents were Holocaust survivors, and growing up I was always told about their experience in the Holocaust and my family that died in the Warsaw Ghetto. And what we're seeing right now in Gaza is a genocide. And I was always taught growing up to fight any genocide wherever it was happening. And what we're seeing is that the Trump regime is continuing the genocide in Gaza and attacking our freedom of speech here in the U.S.
And that was just outside of Trump Tower, but I did want to bring you back to this image, as it does look like some people may be getting arrested right now inside of the lobby of Trump Tower. Again, this is all in protest here of the effort to deport a pro-Palestinian Columbia University activist. And we are also getting some social media reaction in from Tom Homan, the border czar. He says, a quote, breaking in New York, wish it was good news, but more protesters are out and getting physical while demanding the anti-American Mahmoud Khalil to be released. Now they're trying to take over Trump Tower in New York City. Stay safe, New York. We are going to keep an eye to see if we're getting any more reaction in here on social media. But I did want to take you just back out live right now to this image as I do continue to share with you what we do know. Police are staged inside and outside this Fifth Avenue building. And this was ahead of the protest. So they were staged before all of this did begin. That's according to the Associated Press. Khalil's supporters say his arrest is an attack on free speech and have staged protests elsewhere in the city and around the country. We've been bringing those to you here on Live Now from Fox over the past several days or so, and hundreds demonstrated yesterday outside a Manhattan courthouse during a brief hearing on the case. Khalil was being detained at an immigration detention center in Louisiana, where he has remained after a brief stop at a New Jersey lockup. Columbia was a focal point of the pro-Palestinian protest movement that has been sweeping across U.S. college campuses this last year. Khalil's wife is pregnant with their first child and she says that he finished his requirements for a Columbia master's degree in December. He was born in Syria. So I do want to just turn up the sound again, as this is a breaking news situation that we are bringing to you here live. Let's listen in and see what we can hear. All right, well, we are getting multiple angles here, so I do want to head back to, looks like, an interview with a protester here outside of Trump Tower on the street. Let's listen in.
Protester against Israeli action in Palestine. I think you know you've maybe crossed some kind of fundamental value for America. What's your name again? Warren Inspector. How do you spell it? M-O-R-G-A-N-S-B-E-C-T-O-R. I hear you. Hi, could you come on with me? Thank you. What's your name?
Hi, how are you? Can I get your name for the camera?
Yes, my name is India. What's your name?
David.
David, it's very nice to meet you.
Spell your name first.
I as in igloo, N as in Nancy, Z as in dog, Y as in yellow, A as in apple.
Excellent. So why are you here today?
Well, I joined my Jewish colleagues and friends and community members to stand up against the ways that Judaism is being weaponized against a population of vulnerable people. We see historically the ways that religion has been used and weaponized to persecute people who are already vulnerable. We've seen that in the civil rights movement. We're seeing it right now with trans people. And really, it's very upsetting and very sad and hurtful, to say the least, to see something so beautiful being weaponized and being used to justify something so horrible. And, you know, it's even more scary that this is something that the average person is still confused about. You know, most of us, the principles that we're raised on, the morals that we have about treating people justly, to be kind, to be considerate, to not make assumptions, to leave judgment to the Creator. All these things are lost, and in fact, people are using their faith now to cause harm and to hurt each other. So we're here to say, not in our name, not in the name of Jews will we continue to cause harm. Not in the name of Islam will we continue to cause harm. Not in the name of Christianity we will continue to cause harm. And so we're here to raise our voices in solidarity with Mahmoud, who is being illegally detained, who is kidnapped by the United States government illegally. And, you know, they're trying to spin a story and say that his views for making sure that Palestinian families and unarmed civilians are safe from the persecution of Israel is in alignment with Hamas and terrorism. And so it's really, really confusing to see the ways that terrorism is being used to define peace and the call for it.
It's not a day.
Wow, there you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Very different opinion there from one of the protesters that I think is just wild how, in my opinion, it's kind of almost backwards and twisted. Let me know if you agree or not in the comments. If you agree, because and I see somebody saying that that individual is probably on some sort of substances. Yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments, but I got to say I strongly disagree, and I think it's interesting how she's claiming that the responses taking place are, terrorist attacks that are being justified, where literally I think this began on October 7th, where there was actually a terrorist attack, and now she is justifying what is being done. So I almost think it's hypocritical. It is backwards, and it's pretty wild to me. The response to this, just my opinion. You can choose to agree or disagree, but I personally think that the individuals that are here in the U.S., that guy, he was not illegally detained. He's here on a visa or a green card, and the U.S. has the right to revoke it if they so choose, if they feel there is a threat. He was deemed a threat. Turns out they're saying he is pro-Hamas, which the United States deems as a terrorist organization. And if you support a terrorist organization and you are not here legally, they have the right to ship you out. It is not illegal. It is totally within legal means. And we're actually hearing that a lot of what is unfolding here, have you noticed, there have not been massive pushbacks on the deportations that are taking place and this and that. And that is because they're saying that the attorneys that know the law know that a lot of what's going on here, they can try to challenge it. But if they do, they already know that they're likely going to lose, because what is taking place is 100% legal. Now, I'm not an attorney. That's just what I've been reading. And then I'm hearing that you're not going to see a whole lot of legal pushback against this. They might vocalize it, but they're not likely going to take it up the chain of courts and try to see this through, because they know that this is within the right. Donald Trump, the president, ICE, all of this, border security, all the things that are taking place is in an effort to keep our nation and our people safe. And they're going to continue to do it, and it is not illegal. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Again, just my thoughts on things. You can choose to agree. You can choose to disagree. I'm totally fine with it. And if you appreciate the updates, don't forget, take a quick second, hit that like button, subscribe, and let's take a look at some more video footage that has just come out that I want to share with you guys. This coming out 25 minutes ago, more updates on the takeover of Trump Tower, with these pro-Palestinian individuals that have taken over and we're hearing are being arrested. I also have up the live feeds. I'm watching to see if there are any live updates at this moment. I don't see any coming in, but let's take a look at this video footage here so you can see it for yourself.
All right, you've been watching it happen live right there here in New York City in Trump Tower. Protesters taking to the lobby of that tower. They're calling for the release of Mahmoud Khalil, the anti-Israel activist facing deportation under the Trump administration. All right, it continues as we take over coverage here on the Fox News Channel. I'm Sandra Smith in New York. Hey, John.
Sandra, good to have you back again. I'm John Roberts in Washington, and this is America Reports. Our senior correspondent, Eric Shawn, is at Trump Tower. This group that's engaged in this protest in the basement lobby of Trump Tower there, Eric, is a group that we're very familiar with. We've seen them protest in Grand Central Station before. We've seen them occupy the Cannon Building on the House side here in Washington, D.C. These are leftist Jews, including one, according to the Associated Press, actress Deborah Winger from An Officer and a Gentleman. It would seem that these are American Jews who lean very far left, who find common cause with Palestinians, who have decided to occupy Trump Tower today.
John, the protesters have taken their demonstration and their anger directly to the heart of the Trump organization and to President Trump's home and to his office here at Trump Tower. I'm outside just in the corner of 57th and 5th, where some of the demonstrators here are now beginning to disperse. We have seen, as I'll show you down the street, the entrance to Trump Tower, at least a dozen or so arrests so far of the protesters who came into that pink lobby, and you can see an officer right now escorting someone who has zip ties, handcuffs behind her back. They have the zip ties out. They are taking them to a bus which is around the corner for processing, where they are being arrested. Those are the demonstrators, part of this group, who refuse to leave Trump Tower. They sat down on the pink marbled floor. They chanted. They were cheering. They were talking about freeing Palestine, no walls in Mexico or in the Middle East. And of course, they were also chanting for and supporting Mahmoud Khalil, the leader of the Columbia University protests, who the Trump administration is seeking to deport. The Trump administration says that he is a threat to national security, adverse to U.S. foreign policy, that under Secretary of State Marco Rubio's legal power, he is able to deport him just by fiat, basically, by that. But of course, a federal judge has delayed the deportation at least until sometime next week for arguments back in court next Monday. Meanwhile, that has not stopped. That has only fueled and ignited these protesters in their anger, as you see more being walked out, some with shirts that say Jews for Peace. That is the group that has sponsored this protest. You see the more in their T-shirts. Others are just dressed in civilian outfit. And I asked some of them, why do they come here? And they, of course, said that this is aimed directly at President Trump, who they believe is illegally prosecuting Khalil and has been illegally, in their view, on the side of Israel, which, of course, they do not want, talking about rights of the Palestinian people. So the protest now basically is quieted down, but the arrests are continuing as those inside remain sitting down, willing to be arrested for their cause, as this basically started about an hour or so ago, as they suddenly decided to target Trump Tower, and the police are doing what the NYPD does and is prepared for, arresting those who are breaking the law. John, back to you.
So, Eric, we're watching these live shots inside Trump Tower. Obviously, a huge police presence, as we have seen that building over the past hour that this has been going on. They're still chanting directly at the officers who are have lined up face-to-face with them. So right now, we're seeing arrests taking place. If we can flash that other live shot I just saw here a moment ago, there's arrests taking place. What can you tell us about how they organized to actually do this?
Well, the group is very organized, and those who decided and agreed to be arrested remained inside, while others, as you can see, came out here to the corner of 57th Street not to be arrested. They were chanting, and the police obviously have a protocol for this. As you can see, one of the protesters is now sitting down on the street. This technically and legally can be considered resisting arrest. When you resist arrest, you don't have to fight back against a police officer. You don't have to punch them. This protester appears to have been sitting down right here on Fifth Avenue in front of Trump Tower. And let's just wait and see. They'll probably pick that protester up. And that protester, in addition to being charged with civil disobedience and trespassing, will be picked up. As you can see, there is a potential resisting arrest charge right there. You're seeing live right here on the Fox News channel of a protester who not only was willing to be arrested inside, but also started to have her civil disobedience by conducting a resisting arrest count by sitting down on Fifth Avenue outside the street. So it's a very orderly process, actually, and at some points it was celebratory by some of these protesters, because when the arrestees, those who were arrested, were being walked out, the crowd here on the street were cheering and chanting. Some of the protesters who were not arrested and came out of the lobby were waving their hands in the air and smiling and cheering. So the sense here is a mixture of, yes, you have the anger and the outrage that has been simmering here for so long over what they see is the unjust custody of Mahmoud Khalil, but also you have a sense of celebration that their view is being broadcast around the country and that their voice is being heard by their daring to come into Trump Tower and pick the president's home to stage their sit-in and their protest just now.
Yeah, as we've seen, Eric, with other previous protests from this group, they go into a facility or a building and occupy it and cause a ruckus, and then typically what we've seen in the past, and seems to be following the pattern here, is the police or the Capitol Police or whoever moves in and starts to disperse them. They go pretty peacefully, but they go out in what they believe is a celebration that they got their point across. A very small group there left in the lower lobby of Trump Tower there. The police will likely move them out, and let's hope that it remains peaceful as it has so far. Sandra?
All right, John, let's bring in retired NYPD Inspector Paul Morrow, and we'll get back to Eric Shawn as we continue to watch this play out here in New York City. These protesters are supporting Mahmoud Khalil as they occupy Trump Tower. Seems, Paul, that the police have gotten the situation somewhat under control at the moment. Arrests are being made. Please do give us your observations and what you know about what we're watching happening live.
So Trump Tower has been the focus of a lot of protests down through the years for all the obvious reasons. The police know how to handle this. It looks to be nonviolent. One of the nuances, though, is that this is not Colombia, which means that there is not going to be an agreement, a tacit agreement that's not really publicized, between the complainant, which in the last cases that we've seen has been Columbia University, and the DA's office. Almost certainly Trump Tower, in the person of Donald Trump as the owner, is going to look to press the charges. And in this case, the charges they're not going to be just things like disorderly conduct, et cetera, because you can actually characterize the Trump Tower building as a dwelling. There are people living there. And so you get into potentially an A misdemeanor for trespass, criminal trespass. And you know, you can put these charges on people and you can start to round them up. You can start to get to know who the leaders are, et cetera. And here's my question. I've dwelt on it a lot in the various appearances relative to the things at Columbia. Who are these people and who's funding them? Because I don't feel like we really have a handle on who is spurring it, how it's being financed, why the placards are built are up the next day, the T-shirts are printed, et cetera. It seems to be very, very organized. And according to some of the reporting that we've seen, not just in the conservative media, but across the board, there are a lot of NGOs involved, including some that have contact with the nation of Iran, for whom this kind of thing works. So I think that you're going to see this is going to go on for 4 years now. Every time Trump does something, they're going to protest. So I think this is, in this case, it could potentially escalate. And if Alvin Bragg doesn't drop the charges, you actually have a way in on some of these people to start to know who they are and who's funding them.
Yeah, well, again, this is listed as Jewish Voice for Peace in several reports, a well-known activist organization that actually has members, takes dues from those members, probably has broader support as well. They are Jews who support the liberation of Palestinians. We've seen them in the wake of October the 7th calling for a ceasefire and an end to the war in Gaza. So I would expect that now throwing in with Mahmoud Khalil, Paul, is just for this group at least, a logical extension of what they believe in.
It does feel that way. And all the groups work together, we should clarify. So, you know, they're all under a coalition. There's something like 100 groups. In New York City alone, there's something like 1,000 NGOs, literally over 1,000, that are part of the various coalitions. And they come and they go, and it's all very performative. The thing is, they don't take much of a sanction. As I said, in Colombia, they did all kinds of damage. Here, they are just occupying essentially a lobby at Trump Tower. But at Columbia, they took over Hamilton Hall. They did all kinds of damage. They reportedly detained a custodian against his will. There should have been serious charges there. And there should have been federal-level investigations so that not only we would know who they are and the funding could be investigated, but now, as you talk about Mahmoud Khalil, the Trump administration would have that intelligence to lean on to show Judge Furman in court. Now, I don't know that they don't have it, and they may have been able to scramble something together, but the Trump administration has only been with us for, what, 6 weeks? And I don't get the impression, nobody I know has gotten the impression that the Biden administration did that kind of a penetrative investigation. So you don't know how much we know. Some of that comes down to NYPD intel. Some of it, and the reason that matters, by the way, is you can get out in front of some of this stuff. This one doesn't look to be nonviolent and punch it that way. But if you know the groups, if you know how to follow them on open source media or otherwise, you can prevent these sorts of things and you can prevent them from escalating. Now, in this case, there is a nuance, John. They're going to potentially have the names of all of these people from the arrests. And as I said, this is not Colombia. The Trump people, the Trump organization, can now get those names. And you have the potential for a civil action here to go after the people that are doing this and the funding mechanisms, because the damages here are that they have disrupted Donald Trump's business. There's a restaurant in that lobby and there are other businesses. You can go after them for monetary damages. These are the kinds of things that are never done. There's never any repercussion. And as a result, all of this feels to these students like just another day at school.
Really interesting perspective on that, Paul. So as we watch this happen and we realize this is a pretty heavily guarded building, many of us walk by or drive by this building several times a week. How do you manage how do you figure that they managed to protect this from happening again? And how do you think it happened in the first place?
Well, you know, that's a very salient point, Sandra, because what this means now is, I'm actually surprised they got inside, because the NYPD has been doing this stuff forever, as I say, and they're aware of the fact that Trump Tower is a hotspot. But what that means now going forward, things in the police world very often are reactive. And what's going to happen now is you're going to have a heavier detail, almost certainly permanently posted to Trump Tower. And right now, the NYPD is down thousands of cops as it is. They're very shorthanded. The people are not taking the jobs. They have retention and recruitment problems. And now you're going to have a detail that's going to be almost certainly posted on the street. You'll probably have marked cars. The precinct involved here is going to have that headache. And you're going to have to be in contact regularly with the security people at Trump Tower. Now, look, this gets service protection anyway, right? It's one of the places that the president has a residence. But I can just tell you, for the police, it's just another headache, as it is up at Columbia. It's the job of the police. I get it. But this is, once again, another thing that happens in the city with no repercussion. Everybody, by the way, is going to sue the police. They're going to say the zip ties were too tight. We didn't like the way the arrest processing went. The judges tend to side with them. They settle. They make money, and it goes right back into the hopper to continue the cycle of professional protesters who...
There you have it, you guys. So this is unfolding over the course of the past hour or so. Now, I've been checking the live feeds, and it looks like I think things are dying down. But let me know your thoughts on this. Do you think that they should all be arrested? Do you think that pro-Hamas individuals should be deported? If you think that Donald Trump and what Elon Musk and everybody that is supporting this is doing, put yes in the comments. Excuse me, Elon Musk is doing Doge. Sorry. Tom Homan and ICE and all of that, put yes or put a 47 in the comments. Now, if you disagree with this, put no. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And while you're dropping those yeses and nos, don't forget to hit the like button to spread this out further. Now, I just wanted to share with you my personal opinion on this. And again, this is just my opinion. You can choose to agree or disagree. But I think that if you are here on a visa or a green card, you need to be deported if you are supporting Hamas, which is considered a terrorist group, not just by the United States, but by various different nations. In addition to that, I think there is I think that there's a lack of support for the victims of the violence that originally took place on October 7th. I would critique this as selective advocacy, in my personal opinion. Why are they not equally mourning and protesting for those that were attacked on October 7th? However, they are doing this for Gaza. This is selective, in my opinion. I would challenge the consistency and the universality of these protesters' humanitarian concerns. It seems one-sided, in my opinion. And also, somebody brought up a good point in the comments. Why are they covering their faces? In my opinion, this indicates a lack of accountability. They intend to hide their identity, possibly due to the fact that they are knowingly doing and committing illegal acts. Controversial natures of action. I think that this is essentially cowardly. If you want to stand for something, show your face and let us know who you are. Let me know your thoughts. You concerned about supporting designated terrorist groups? That's probably the reason why. This raises legal and ethical issues surrounding the expression of support for Hamas, which, as I mentioned, is recognized as a terrorist organization by multiple governments around the world. Now, also, why not protest peacefully and legally? I think that we should emphasize the importance of adhering to the law and expressing your dissent for certain things legally. You are protesting on private property. This is not a university. This is not a park. This is Trump Tower. This is considered illegal. This detracts from the legitimacy of your protest. If you want to protest, you have the right to do so, but you need to do it in a legal manner. And also, why not help directly? If you're so concerned about Palestine, I think maybe you should hop on a plane and go over there and go help out. Instead, you are expressing your freedom of speech in this nation. You're here with a green card. Many of them probably are here illegally, and you are protesting, but you're not really doing a whole much other than causing a scene, doing illegal activities. Why don't you just go over there then if you are so concerned? That would be my thoughts. Just a couple of things I wanted to share that I just tried to script out here while we were live. Let me know if you agree or disagree. And if you agree, hit that like button for me. Subscribe to stay up to date. I'll keep you up to speed on everything. And again, if you disagree, totally fine. You have your right to do so. But I will keep you guys up to speed on everything. So this is the latest coming out today, March 13th, 2025. As we have seen, Trump Tower has been taken over by protesters. They have been arrested, protesting for the individual Khalil, who was arrested. They're saying being deported as a result of him being pro-Hamas, a threat to the United States. They're saying organizing a lot of violent protests. And they are saying if you're here with a green card or a visa and you're doing these protests that are pro-Hamas and you are promoting violence, they're going to ship you out. Let me know your thoughts, you guys. But that is the latest. I will continue to keep you up to speed on everything. And in addition to that, if you missed my video yesterday, you might want to check it out. I actually had an interview. I was contacted by Doge. James Fishback, the author of the Doge Dividend Check, working directly with Elon Musk and Donald Trump, contacted me. I thought it was a scam at first, but he said, no, Steve Ram, I saw you on TikTok and YouTube. I wanted to connect with you directly and do an interview, exclusive updates on the Doge dividend checks and how individuals on Social Security will be included. There is no $40,000 annual income requirement. And he said right now, at this moment, yesterday, while we were in the interview, he said, I'm in D.C. We're talking to Congress members trying to include this as a line item in the reconciliation bill to be passed right now. So that was yesterday. If you missed it, check out that live stream, and I will keep you up to date on everything as it comes out. But that is the latest, you guys, and it was truly an honor to interview somebody directly involved with Doge and writing up legislation that will be impacting our nation right now. But as more comes out, I will continue to keep you guys up to date. That is the latest. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.